Hello, so here we are at Lucca Comics and Games 2014, and this time we are with Nicolas Guerin, World Level Design Director on ACUnity. Thank you for being with us.
You're welcome.
So, we would like to ask you a couple of questions. So, what does exactly mean being a World Design Director, and what was your job on Unity?
Yeah, so it's a very broad question. It's really simple. I did two things with my teams. First time we built Paris and the Parisian playground, and then I had another team with which I also created all of the side content, so all of what we call Paris stories, murder mysteries, treasure hunts. So the real world building in its general sense. So Paris playground plus side content and stories with it.
So, what were the major challenges that you and your team had to face in terms of level design on Unity?
Right, so there were many of them. First, we had to make a very new way to construct such a big city. So the scale of the city was a big challenge. The scale of the buildings was a big challenge. Playing for the first time a real seamless indoor-outer transition and indoor playable as well is a big challenge. Almost everything had to be renewed. So also take into consideration of the new types of gameplay elements. So the new stealth, the new fight, the new navigation. So we had to really scratch our heads really hard to understand how we could build a game which is familiar yet totally new and different.
Okay, and how difficult was it to start designing Unity years before its release, without having solid data on the other games that were going to be released in the meantime?
Right, so we had to have good guesses about technology that was available, but you start the game by just thinking of what would be the new design decisions, the story, what story we wanted to do. We also knew pretty much they wanted to do co-op from the beginning, so we knew that we had to make a game in which playing together with friends was important and how important it was. So we had to recreate everything design-wise first, and we had lots of time ahead of us. But yeah, the challenges for us back then was really to think of what would be the next gameplay rather than the next system specifications. So we had very big needs, and we needed to make sure that it worked with the framework of the technical aspects of the console. But yes, it was really about gameplay first for us.
Okay. So again, about the level design, was there a certain landmark or district that was particularly difficult to design and to be faithful to?
Well, you have two types of landmarks. You have landmarks in Paris that are still existing today, and the ones that have disappeared from Paris. So it was harder in terms of research to make landmarks that have disappeared. Now, the Bastille is an example. We have the Grand Châtelet, we have the Bièvre River, all those places that were really important in Paris during the French Revolution that are gone in Paris today. But that being said, those landmarks, once we have enough research, we have more liberty because no one have seen them in real. So every landmark which is really existing now is a bit harder because you have to make sure that you are faithful to the reality, yet at the same time having a playground. So Notre Dame is a good example. I mean, it has to be really faithful to the cathedral, but it's also the seat of a very important mission in the game, and we have to make sure that it's also a very cool playground and people understand where to go, how to navigate, where are the places to hide. So that's the ones where you have to work the most on.
Okay. So speaking of landmarks and the Bastille in particular, in a recent interview it was confirmed that the Bastille will still appear in the game after it was destroyed.
Right.
So can you tell us which were the motivation behind this decision?
It's a good example of how much we wanted to be a fantasy of Paris and a romance rather than an actual historical depiction. In the history, the Bastille was taken in 14th of July 1789, and it was destroyed in the matter of 3 months. In the game, we keep it around for actually 4 years, so it's much longer than the actual reality. But when you have it in game, it's a very important feature of the skyline of Paris, and it's also there to remind you constantly that a revolution happened, so you see it being dismantled. So that's the kind of liberty we took mainly for art and feeling reasons, because we wanted to make sure that people would still understand what the French Revolution is about, and Paris in the idea of what Paris was rather than the actual historical realism.
Okay, so we talk about the challenges that you had to face. Now, can you tell us which were the major innovations that you brought to the AC franchise with Unity?
Man, almost everything. I mean, the co-op and the synchronization, the servers, it's a huge thing. The scale, the buildings, the one-to-one indoor seamless transition. The crowd is a huge part of it. I mean, we can, in some places, and for the execution of Louis XVI, we have more than 10,000 NPCs on the screen, so it's a huge difference. Before that, we can only display 500, so it's really higher. all the new systems, the fight, the stealth, the cinematics, the mocam, the visuals, of course. I mean, you've seen the graphics. It's really different than what we had before. The lighting, the shaders. So everything was I mean, rebuilt anew. So it was a hard work for almost every aspect of the game. Yeah.
Another question. We saw that you worked on city design on Assassin's Creed Revelations. So, what were the difference in working on these two different kind of projects, and in terms of, they are very different in terms of scale too. So, what were the difference in the kind of job that you had to undertake?
Right. So, AC Revolution, it feels like an old game now, but it's quite some time ago. But the biggest difference was for us that Constantinople in 1515 was actually not that well documented. Most of us are either English or French speakers, and you know, it's easy for us to decipher old maps in Turkish. So we didn't have that much source material for the city, and the older you go, the less material you have. So for Paris in 1790, you have lots of references. We had more than 150 different historical maps. We had lots of books, lots of documents, and Ubisoft being actually HU is in Paris, so we had lots of access to the actual city. We've been to Constantinople a couple of times for AC Revelations, but we didn't have that much access to official buildings, official places, and we also didn't have that much, you know, pressure on how to deliver a city right. And the further you go in time, and the closer you go in time from us, the more alike the city is looking. Like every city from only 200 years ago, it looks more like a city we have now, whereas a city for 400 years ago is a bit more different. So we had more freedom to create what we wanted.
Okay, then thank you very much.
Thank you
very much for your time, and we'll see you in the next video.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you very much.